Hello guys, welcome to my channel. The less is more. So today we will discuss an editorial from the Hindu, and it is about India's conglomerates. Okay, I have taken this topic because this is new for us and we haven't discussed before. So I think that we should discuss this topic in our session, right? So let's start the editorial. The title of the editorial is India's conglomerates are getting too big for comfort. Nothing, not even Hindenburg research seems to stop the advance of Indian big businesses. The Adani Group continues with its acquisition, if at a lower pace, and has been able to persuade financial markets to lend it more money, notwithstanding assessments that it is over dependent on debt. Reliance Industries Limited has announced the demerger of its financial service arms to establish a new entity, which media speculation sees as a bid by the group to establish a dominant presence in the financial service industry. The demerger is being seen as a repeat of the strategy adopted by the group in areas stretching from telecommunication and the retail trade to the media and entertainment businesses. Other business groups such as the Tatas and the Aditya Birla empire seem to also be performing well. The biggest of India's big businesses seem to be thriving, but this assessment is not true of all of business in India. It is not just that small and medium scale firms, not to mention the large mass of informal enterprise, are not doing well and are yet to recover their COVID-19 inflicted losses. Many established big business names do not share the good fortune of the big few. A former Reserve Bank of India Deputy Governor and his co-author report in a much cited paper that the share of assets in the non-financial sectors owned by the Big Five business group has risen from 10% in 1991 to nearly 18% in 2021, whereas the share of the next five has fallen from 18% to less than 9%. While their claim that increased concentration is contributing to inflation has been challenged, the evidence they provide of significantly increased concentration has not. Progression to state capture. The dangers of such a rapid rise in industrial concentration have been flagged in the past across the world. The process feeds on itself by using market power to stifle competition. It results in profit inflation or profiteering through the manipulation of costs and prices. In the process, it fosters extreme asset and income inequality. It triggers efforts to influence institutions of democracy, and through means such as the capture of the media, it dilutes the role that civil society can play as a countervailing power. In time, it leads to undue corporate influence over political process and the formulation of policy with tendencies bordering on state capture. These fears were strengthened by the recognition that these tendencies are not stalled by competition in the market but are consequences of functioning of markets. Given asset and income equality and therefore differential power among economic agents, the functioning of the market favors for multiple reasons those who are asset rich, leading to concentration and centralization. That recognition led to the argument that it is not only necessary to regulate markets to address the malicious outcomes their functioning can give rise to, but that there is a need to physically prevent the growth of dominant business and excessively large conglomerates, or even break up those that are seen as too big for comfort. A promotion of big business. The difficulty is that while civil society voices can make a case for such action, in the final analysis, it is the state that must implement the needed policies, and the nature of the state is not independent of the influence that the structures in society exert. Democracies have battled hard to force governments to maintain some distance from private capital in general and big business In particular, those efforts have been partially successful in specific historical contexts, leading among other things to strong action against monopoly and trustification. Similar efforts were seen in India immediately after independence, as a national state emerged from a freedom movement that was a broad alliance of diverse classes. But over the years, the distance between state and private capital has narrowed hugely, leading to the current situation in which the state promotes big business rather than regulate or curb the latter. Within that framework, the decisions as to how many and which business groups to promote and to what extent is arbitrary. Three trends have signaled this narrowing of political distance between the state and big business. First, the embrace of neoliberalism by powerful voices within and outside the state. This implied adoption of the view that the role of the state is not to regulate private capital but to facilitate its growth as a means to all round economic progress. In fact, advocates of neoliberalism have argued that the competition that would be fostered by a liberalized regime will counter concentration. The reverse has happened. Despite early signs in some sectors that competition had increased, even in areas such as telecommunication and civil aviation, the initial increase in the number of new players only triggered a process of churning with associated social waste that has finally left a few with signs of collusion among them. The consumer will be the loser. The second is the propagation of the view that the state must help strengthen domestic big business to not just hold its own against giant global competitors but to step beyond Indian shores. State policy, diplomacy, and public resources, including those channeled through public banks, had to serve as instrument for the purpose, while liberalization opened up Indian markets and subjected much of Indian business to global competition. State intervention was modified to protect and promote sections of big business, not least through large-scale subsidies and transfers. The money factor. Third is the refusal to reduce the influence of money in politics. In the event, closeness of political parties to big business had turned out to be a prerequisite for garnering the resources needed to manage elections and win electoral support over time. Policy has been changed to legitimize corporate donation to political parties, including through the infamous electoral bonds scheme. What is frightening in the current situation is that these tendencies have coalesced into a strategy where, in the name of strengthening Indian business, as part of promoting the national interest, a very few business groups have been actively favored by the state. Under normal circumstances, this should have led to widespread resentment and dissent, not just among those in lower segment of the asset and income pyramid, but among more powerful sections closer to the top who are being ignored. That would spell instability and also perhaps serve as a corrective. But that has not happened in the new India, because again, in the name of national interest, state power is being used to suppress any such dissent. The result is an almost relentless march to extreme concentration of wealth and economic power. So, the big conglomerates or the big five companies are concentrating the wealth in the name of national interest or creating economic opportunities. So, and this rapid rise of concentration of industrial wealth is not seem good for the India. Okay, and there are many few big businesses that favor the state and also favored by the state, but there are some big businesses that are only doing business for their own interest and not for the national interest of India. Okay, so this was in the today's editorial. So state has to maintain or the enact some policies so that these big conglomerates are not dominate the whole market, and also let some medium, small and micro, small and medium enterprise to be flourished and thrive in the Indian economy, so that the equal population get the equal opportunities. And for the capitalism to flourish, for the long lasting, there is a need for wealth distribution or something that does not lead to income inequality. Otherwise, what will happen, that if the lower section of the or the masses do not have money to spend on, then how these people will earn money, because they sell their products to the lower masses, right? So that there is a need for the balanced and inclusive growth. Okay. So this was for today's editorial, and write 5 words that you find relatable. First is acquisition, assessments, demerger, financial services, excessively. So there are so many words in today's editorial that you can write. Competitors, dominant, consequences. Okay, so these are the words that you can use. I will use these words, so you also write some new words in or the words that is of your choice, right? So that you can use it in your daily conversation and writing practice. Okay, so this was for today, guys. I hope you would be understanding, and till then, bye bye, signing off for the day.